This is Torsten from AbletonLive.Ninja, and today we are looking at the iRig Pads editor, and more specifically, how I can adapt all of the buttons and knobs to integrate with my Ableton Live set here. I have a performance set, so this is not a set for producing beats, but more playing entire songs and tracks, more like a DJ would in a venue. So I will pause at this point to say this is a little bit more of an advanced video in that I expect you do know what Ableton Live is, that it does have a crossfader, a DJ mode, etc. I'm going to be showing you how to map these to the iRig pads, but I'm not going to stop and explain too much how they work. You'll probably glean a lot if you've never seen this before, but I just want to throw that out there. If you have no idea what's going on, you might take a look at some other videos and then come back to this one. So what I want to show you today, and I'll start from the top right and we'll move to the bottom left, is how to change each of these parameters to do something different than their default. And in order to do this in real time, we're going to go up to the transfer button and I'm going to select the auto send configuration to on. And what this allows is every time I make a change, the iRig of course has to be plugged in to do this, but it's going to send that change to the iRig. So then if I change this pad, for example, to be, no longer a note, but a control change, it just did that. So the actual iRig is receiving all of those changes and making them in real time. The reason you may not want to do this in another situation is you can make all of your changes first and you can keep the configuration that you have and then transfer everything all at once using the send configuration button. So if you don't like to toy around with things in real time, which most of us gearheads do, you can make all your changes, double check, make sure everything's right, and then send that to the iRig. But either way, you're really not going to break anything. So let's get straight into what I want to do. I want to take, for example, this knob, and I want to turn this into my crossfader. I also want to launch whatever scene I'm hovering over by clicking this button. So this is not a knob and a button. I want to navigate the scenes up and down by clicking these buttons. I want to change the tempo by turning this up and down. I said I was going to go from left to right, but I got a little distracted because this section here is going to be potentially confusing, so I'm going to skip it for now. It's going to be an EQ section. Over here, we have a few different things. At the top here, I want to have this button select whatever is playing in track 1, and this button is going to select and show whatever is playing in track 2. Notice that in my setup here, I only have 2 tracks. I have track 1, track 2, one assigned to A, one assigned to B, so I can crossfade and mix between the two of them. So if this guy was playing, I could press this button and it would display here in my detail view. All right. So these guys, all 4 of these are going to be MIDI notes that are triggering responses from this DJ shout-out drum rack I have here. So for example, you would get in the mix or horns, etc. And I want to have these buttons dedicated for, so these are, I'm going to look at these as track 1 and track 2, my EQ for track 1. This is going to launch whatever clip is highlighted in track 1 in terms of a scene. So for example, if I were to select scene 4 here, if I were to press that button, it's going to launch this guy. I'm going to select scene 5, and if I click this button, it's going to launch this clip. All right, and these are going to be stop buttons. So if I click the bottom left one, it's going to be the equivalent of clicking this. Notice it cleared out, this, it stopped anything from playing. And likewise, this one is going to be the stop button for here. These two I've left unused at the moment. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with them yet, but we'll probably come up with something. So I mentioned that this section here is a little bit unique. Let's talk about it by looking at the effects that I have built in each of these channels. I have effects 1 in channel 1 and effects 2 in channel 2. What I have here is really, really simple, actually. I have EQ3, which just kills the lows or the highs or the mids, and I have mapped the frequency, the crossover frequency for the lows to here, and the crossover frequency for the highs to here, only because instead of mapping, you might ask, well, why didn't you map directly to this knob? This knob will go all the way to 6K, and I want my maximum, when I turn the knob all the way to the right, to only go to about 300 Hertz, as opposed to 6,000, which would roll effectively the entire song out. So this is a way that I'm going to map to this button, or excuse me, to this knob, so that I have finite control instead of just really, really way more control than I need. And the same idea here. I want when this is all the way to the right, I want, even if this is off, it's not going to be changing the frequency too much, and then I'm going to slowly roll the highs off, and I'm going to leave a lot of the mids intact when this is fully in the off position. So that's what is going to get mapped to here. I'm going to, for both tracks, and that's what's really cool about this, both tracks are going to be responding to this knob in terms of the highs, and both tracks are going to respond to the lows here. This is track 1's high, whoops, there, this one, high on-off switch, and this will be track 1's low on-off switch. Okay, so that's what we're going to do in the next video. This has just been an introduction to what we're going to do. Let's now take a look at actually getting these mapped. Again, if you get confused, pause the video, rewind, do a little research. There will be a bunch of links added over time below for your convenience. We'll see you in the next video.